Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smells Like Teen Angst. We are here to talk about episode 2 of Cruel Summer, season 2. Let's just get into it. Ta-da! And as always, I have these crazy cats with me. Say hello. Whoever wants to go first.
Jordan, you do it. You go.
Who's going?
Jordan,
you go first.
Okay. Hi. Hey, all you crazy cats and kittens. I'm Jordan. You can find me on the internet at Lambertra. I also play games on QueueTimes and host things and have a blog. Whatever. You know where to find me. Bye.
Keiki, and I'm always on Smells Like Teen Angst, and sometimes I play games with Jordan on QueueTimes, and you can find me on the internet at The Life of Keiki, but I'm always here, so why would you go looking for me? Like, that's kind of weird and stalkerish.
She's like, that's it. No. Yeah, if you are D&D fans, go check out their replay. You've had what, 4 seasons? Or 3 seasons of Dungeons and Dragons, of Blackness and Dragons?
Several seasons. Mini seasons.
I think we're on 5.
To 5? It's killer. So make sure you go to QueueTimes, check that out. But in the meantime, if you didn't see our first recap review video of episode 1 of season 2, Cruel Summer, head over, watch that first, because we are diving into episode 2, and it just keeps rolling. I don't know how the first 2 episodes of this season, no wonder they dropped them at the same time. They were just like, oh, you want more? I'll give you more. Like that girl on TikTok.
Brittany reference.
Like, yes. The big cliffhangers of episode 1, we learned that there was a sex tape at a Christmas party between Isabella and Luke, as well as now in the summer, Luke is dead and they found his body in the lake. As well as Isabella and Megan are not friends anymore. Like, there's just like a lot going on, and this just picks up where it leaves off and just dives into these 3 different timelines. As a reminder, the timelines are July 1999, December 1999, and then the summer of 2000. Jordan, you had thoughts. I see it.
So one thing that I really like, they did a thing on this episode that I really enjoy, and like I loved it when they did this in the Fatal Attraction series. I mentioned in my review of that, is that this episode is now more of like Isabella's perspective as opposed to Megan's. So we kind of go back a little bit in time to like see her arrival from her point of view and seeing her try to make friends. And I just love when they like show you the same situations but from different perspectives.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And that's so funny because I don't know how, when watching it, I didn't realize that. And then as soon as you just said it right now, I was like, oh, that's exactly what happened. Sometimes things click and other times they don't.
Sometimes they don't. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. So in July of 1999, we have a party scene. It's a pool party. Everyone's having a good time. There's tons more of Luke and Isabella flirting. We met Brent at the Christmas party, who is Luke's brother, and now we meet his girlfriend. So we're getting a few more players like in this game. And we also met the friend that like has the camcorder, whose name I have forgotten, but it'll come to me. Jeff. I was like, someone will know it. Someone will comment it. It's fine. And then I love that there was like possible foreshadowing when Luke talks about how loyal Megan is. And he's like, yeah, she's helped you bury a body loyal. And I was like, oh. Yeah. I was like, look at that. I don't know why I wrote close up of firework. Oh yeah, there's there's so many little nuggets. It's like the passport, the driver's license, and in this episode we got a close up of fireworks. So
everything is a clue, Sarah.
Everything is a clue. Look at me. This is what I do. And then Isabella is now rifling through Megan's bag and finds a bunch of Adderall. And now she realizes, well, maybe this is how I can bond with Megan, is that I know she's not perfect. She knows I'm not perfect. And maybe she won't hate me anymore. I think that logic is sound for a teenager.
It's logical, but it's also low-key felt like blackmail.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. And Isabella asks Luke to talk to Megan about like having her make an effort and be nice to her. And I felt like that was a really nice moment of vulnerability for Isabella, because she didn't have to ask that. She doesn't have to ask him to make her nice. She could just live her life because she's still having a great time.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's an awkward situation, especially with the person you're living with. Like, really just not accepting your energy in their space.
Well, and Megan or Isabella makes this big deal about how she wanted to do it because she never had siblings and she wanted to make friends, and she moved around so often that she didn't make friends. She says that she only had one friend named Lisa, who we never see Lisa. We don't see a photo of Lisa. I don't know if Lisa exists. There is something shady in Isabella's past, and we're going to fucking find out, guys.
I know.
Because the math ain't mathing. The math is not mathing.
Something's going on. Something serious is happening. And then at the end, I kind of love this because so Megan and her bond over the pills, she's making an effort. And Isabella gets that final confirmation of like, you're sure you don't care about Luke? And she's like, no, do what you want with Luke. And so Isabella gets him to kiss her. And I thought that was really smooth when she's like, oh, my earring fell off. Where's my earring? It's so important. It came from my best friend. And he finds it for her and brings it up. And she's like, oh, thank you. I was like, okay, little girl. I see you, because I would never have been brave enough to do anything like that in high school.
Oh, no. I don't have moves like that in my 30s.
No. I was like, okay. Guess I'll learn something from this child.
It's more like a, are we doing this or nah vibe.
Yeah, I liked it. And so they make out and like Megan sees it and she's not happy. So I feel like they're doing really great at setting up this jealousy thing. And I can't wait to see how like that, if Isabel and Luke actually do start dating, like how it comes to an end amicably so that Megan and Isabella can still be best friends while she's dating Luke. You know, I'm like, how are we going to do that? So I'm really excited to see how that goes. I see it every time.
Yeah, no, I feel like they can't actually date each other. Like, I feel like they probably make out this one time and then Megan's going to be like, I actually didn't like that. Or Isabella's going to be like, I noticed you're uncomfortable. And I think Isabella's probably going to be the one to set them up and like put them on the course to actually date each other.
Yeah.
Because they're just too understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Isabella, her whole vibe, at least in this episode, comes off as like a very self-sacrificing person. And I feel like when we get more of the story, it will probably be something into that cadence of like, you like him, it's done. I back away, take him. Like, I just really feel like that was the vibe and that they didn't date at all. And if they did, it was in secret because I think she is that type of person who, like the way they're setting this up is very much like, I'll sacrifice my own feelings for others, you know?
For sure. So let's jump ahead to 1999, the blue Twilight filter. For anyone who didn't realize that's what was going on. The cliffhanger of 1999 is the sex tape at the Christmas party. Isabella wakes up to a bunch of blow-up toys outside of her trailer because like she sleeps in a trailer at the house. And the principal wants to suspend her for a sex tape. And I'm like, I'm sorry. This happened off of school grounds. This was obviously not done with consent. So what in the backassery is happening? Because this doesn't, like, how does this affect her school life?
It feels back-ass, and I agree with you, but it was also 23 years ago. And technology in the world that we live in has changed so much. And for me, this was a stark reminder of like how far we've come, where like in that time period, like look at Pam Anderson, you know, like a sex tape could ruin your life. Absolutely. And so while I agree that yes, they're overreacting, it is very typical of the time period. And it's so, I just think strange because at this point in our life, who doesn't have nude?
Right.
Absolutely.
It's like it's kind of like when that happened to Jennifer Lawrence. Remember when her phone was hacked and people blamed her for taking naked photos of herself to send to Nicholas Hoult, who was her boyfriend of like 6 years or 4 years at the time. And people were like, well, you shouldn't have just taken them. Like, what does that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I just think it's so wild that it went so far as it to affect the principal and the principal suspending her and not suspending Luke, which is also very much a thing of the time.
part of it's also that small town, like everybody knows everybody's business. I'm sure the principal is probably at the party because that town is so small that like
Absolutely.
everything gets around. And of course, the boys will be boys situation. Of course, the girl's going to be the one who gets punished.
Yep. At 100%. And then they show Megan just sitting there watching the tape and Isabella walking in. And all of a sudden there's a reveal that it is not Isabella on this tape, that it is Megan. I just like,
I had to rewind it because I didn't understand that scene at first. I was like, what just happened? What? Excuse me?
and I was like, why is she sitting there watching it? Like, why would you watch this? And then it whips up, she gets up and you see her face. And I'm like, what? The reveals, the twists,
I
the
didn't get it
turns.
because everyone does such a quick 180 in that scene, and Isabella goes from being like contrite and apologetic to trying to help her. And that's why I didn't get it, because I'm like, why is Isabella so apologetic if she knows that she never hooked up with Luke?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And everybody's eyes turned on her so quickly. So it makes me wonder, like, is there more to that tape than we're seeing in general? Is it a threesome? Maybe it is her legs. Maybe it is her back. Like, I don't know. I just like, maybe I'm getting too confused here, but you know, they seem to have like this really tight girlfriend relationship where it's like, if you do it, I'm gonna do it, you know? So I just want to know, what does Megan have on Isabella to make her be like, I'll throw myself on the knife for you, girl. Like, don't worry. We got each other. Like,
But also, like, I understand 1999 VHS camcorder tapes were not that clear. It was not crystal clear like we have now. However, Megan and Isabella do not look the same for a multitude of reasons, but one of which is skin tone. So the fact that it's like a dark and grainy video and everyone automatically assumed Isabella is wild to me.
I
And
don't
they
know.
try to explain it, and I'm like, that's not a great explanation, you guys.
No, it doesn't make sense. I feel like there's more to the story that we're missing. There has to be something that we're not getting as the audience.
There has to be some type of like seed of doubt somewhere wrapped up in there, why we'd all go so far to that like conclusion when he's in a relationship with someone.
Exactly. What happens between the summer and December? I'm like, this is the piece we're missing, and I need it. But yeah, Isabella willing to be the fall guy is also crazy. And her reasoning is that she's going to be leaving soon anyway. She doesn't live here. She's here for a short period of time, and then she's going to be out. So let everyone hate her. And then Megan and her can move on with their lives, and she and Luke can move on with their lives. And I'm just like, that's a really good friend. But why?
That's a really good friend, but it's also incredibly logical. Like, that could ruin Megan's entire life, you know? And for Isabella, it's just like, this is another stamp in my passport. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. She would lose her scholarship to college. She would, like, if she gets expelled, like, she's done. So I just think that's wild. I'm like, oh, 2 episodes in, man, twists and turns. They're so crazy. So now, like, the big mystery is like, now that we know who's on the tape, it's who played the tape, who's found it and said, you know what I'm going to do? Play this at a Christmas party. Isabella thinks it's Jeff because he's the buddy with the camcorder. Luke thinks it's his brother because apparently Brent is constantly making sex tapes with all the women he dates. Most of them don't know, and he's so gross and passive like with it. I'm like, oh, I forgot that this is what life was like and still kind of is like, and I'm just like, oh, thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
There was legitimately a moment during the episode where I'm like, how come Brent couldn't be the one but the bottom of the lake? God.
100%. And then the scene I think is so great is Isabella's like rolling up to Luke's house, gonna find the tapes, destroy them, and that's when like Brent's girlfriend shows up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he tried to film me once, and I said no." So she breaks into the house. She literally throws like a rock through a window, like they don't have an alarm system. But then they
don't. A house that big and there's no alarm system.
Crazy. And they find so many tapes in the living room. Like, not even his bedroom.
And they destroy those, but they
that's
do
what-
also mention that he had a secret stash in his room before they leave the
Yeah.
house.
I think the tapes that they destroyed were just random home videos. I don't think they actually destroyed
Yeah.
the right tapes. They were in the
That's
living
how
room.
I feel too. Like, why wouldn't you go for the secret stash first?
Yeah.
Like, why? Thank you for that, like, breadth of information, like, after the fact, after we've already ripped through tapes. Like, just
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And I do like that the girlfriend was like, hold on, not that one, because their mom was still alive, but anything after this date you can destroy. I was like, oh yeah, the mom. I feel like the mom's death is gonna be tied into this somehow. And I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be coming.
I feel like it's making us have empathy for Luke. You know,
For
sweet
sure.
boy lost his mom. Oh, what a sweet boy. What a sweet boy. And then we're going to find out that
Baby.
he's not a sweet boy.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Because I was wondering if she even knew that tape exists, but I think she does now. I think she did know when they did it or not did it. Or did they say Brent's brother, like Brent was filming it and they both didn't know? What did they say? Someone in the comments will sure let me know. Don't even worry about it.
Mhm.
And then this time period kind of ends with Isabella overhearing Luke and Megan talking to each other, and she gets really upset by what they say. And then she decides to go and tell Megan's mom, because her mom's being like real mama bear about the whole thing,
Mhm.
that it wasn't her on the tape. And I'm waiting to see the fallout of that.
It's going to get spicy.
Spicy. Why is that spicy? So jumping ahead to the summer of 2000 with the green sepia, we learned that they are absolutely, Meg and Isabella, no longer ride or die, no longer besties. Like, their friendship is done and seems to have been done for a while. And I'm like, again, that's such a leap from her willing to fall on the sword for her to them all of a sudden not being friends, and also Luke no longer being alive. They get a coroner's report and that the cause of Luke's death was drowning. However, there's an abrasion from a bullet, and the toxicology says that there was a bunch of pain meds in his system, so that whoever put him in the water wanted to make sure there was no chance of him coming up. So now they want to re-interview everyone.
They Rasputin to this kid, okay? They shot him, they bludgeoned him, they threw him in a lake, they drugged him. Like, what the fuck?
I know. I was like, good luck
Passion.
explaining this one, because this is true murder. Like, this isn't, there's no accidental written on this. Like, y'all went through levels. So now we're going to have to learn about the levels. And on top of that, of course, you know, we already have had that conversation of we need to get our story straight at the end of the last episode. So now we're launching into Isabella trying to pack her bags and leave and run away from this. And then getting, you know, told like, hey, they're going to re-interview everyone. So it's like, look, she's so scared. She's trying to get out. So that means there's some blood on her hands too. And Megan's like, no, if I'm staying, you're staying. So that means there's blood on her hands too. So I just want to know, what did y'all do to him?
Mm-hmm.
And why did he deserve
So
that?
my prediction is that 3 different people all tried to kill him. One person drugged him, one person shot him, and one person threw him in the lake. Everybody,
You know
killed
what?
this boy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say daddy drugged him. I think the dad is involved somehow. He's too sketchy to not be, you know. Like, part of me also thinks maybe it was the dad who played the video at Christmas, because, you know, he was so against that relationship continuing into college. And he's like, this is how I'll make it happen. I don't know.
I
No?
don't think it was a dad, because he's so pissed about the video. He's so embarrassed. He had all these investors coming for this big project in the town to make the town more money. And like, people like that who are so business minded take the smallest thing as an insult to their business and their brand. And so there's no way he would do that, because it would damage the brand.
Yeah, it's true. And then the parents have this like really lovely and sad moment with Luke's dad, how he said, you know, this whole time I just thought Luke was going to come home, and then they find his body. And I was like, oh, look at this sad scene in the midst of all this chaos.
But with them saying that too, it also made me think like, well, maybe they did something to Luke and he maybe attempted to hurt himself and take a bunch of pills and then drowned. I don't know. But I'm also like, why is there a bullet? Like, explain.
So he took a bunch of pills, but then he didn't die fast enough. So then he tried to shoot himself. That's where the bullet came from. And then he fell in the lake.
Hey, it's a complete accident. Maybe, so many scenarios. Whose blood was Megan cleaning? Sorry, I'm like, there's so much.
His mom, who's not actually dead, she's just been living in a cabin off the grid for. No, just kidding. I'm sorry.
If this was Riverdale, that would be a solid answer.
I know. I'm going real far, but we don't know. It's Freeform. It's early.
And this is what this show is so good at. It's like it could be anything and everything makes sense. They're just really great at the red herrings. They're really good. And we will always have theories throughout every episode. So at the interrogation, everyone's like, he was such a happy guy. He and Megan were happy. They do know like Isabella and Megan were fighting and that, Isabella left whatever party or thing that they were at early. So I was like, that's the gist. That's what the cops keep getting. And then I appreciate that Isabella, while talking to the police, that man is like slut shaming her, says what everyone was thinking about this tape, that she is a minor and it was distributed without permission and no one should be blaming her because there was other people who did this to her. And I'm like, yes, this is what everyone is thinking. It's what I was thinking. And then her explanation of why she stayed in town when Megan was yelling at her is because Debbie got sick. And I'm like, Debbie is sick? Like, did she have the flu? Did Debbie get cancer?
I don't know.
How sick was she that she needed to stick around? Did Isabella make Debbie sick? Did Megan make Debbie sick?
Girl.
Is it like a reverse Gypsy Rose issue? Sorry. And then we learn more about Isabella. Within the first episode, Jordan, you were saying she's got a sketchy background and we're going to learn about it. And the cop reveals that she's been at 3 schools in 3 years because trouble follows her everywhere. She's constantly in trouble. So this super fun girl, I'm like, sir, can you tell me more? No? How dare you? And they're like, what 17-year-old knows when to call a lawyer? I'm like, sir, anyone who's seen a cop drama, it doesn't matter how old, what decade.
Thank you. That line got on my nerves so bad because I was like, anybody who watches SVU, like what we all know.
Yeah.
Right? I've been watching cop dramas since I was born. Like those are my dad's favorite. I know to call a lawyer.
Yeah, I've seen all the Law and Orders.
I've seen all the Law and Orders. I remember the show called In the Heat of the Night.
Yes.
NYPD Blue. What's the one where they're in Miami
What's
Vice?
The one before NYPD Blue? I watched that one.
Chips. I'm just saying, my parents watched a lot of these cop shows, okay?
Mm-hmm. I watched CSI.
New York Undercover. I was sitting on the floor of someone's bedroom at 9 at night watching shows I shouldn't have been watching.
Hill Street Blues. That's the one I'm thinking about really taking it back. I watch Hill Street Blues.
Mm-hmm. Like, I watched Beverly Hills Cop. Even though it's one of the comedy cop movies, we all know. I was like,
there's a reason we like true crime, okay? There's a reason we're all on the whodunit, okay?
100%. So I was like, what line is that? I don't know who approved that line in the show of what 17-year-old knows when to call a lawyer. All of us.
All of us.
One who's been watching Columbo when she's at home sick.
Columbo! Monk!
Like, what? I'm like, that just shows you're dumb, sir. Anywho, Isabella, then we see her flushing pills down a toilet. So are these the pills?
Another mystery.
And calling her mama. Are we about to meet Isabella's mom?
Who knows?
The double cliffhangers on this show, man. 1999 winter and summer of 2000 give us the best cliffhangers of what's about to happen. Man, I like it. I'm here for this season. I wasn't sure. We talked about it in the last episode. I didn't know how they were going to recreate this magic, but I am all in.
I'm 100% in, and I'm already ready to like be double crossed and feel stupid at the end, because I didn't feel stupid per se at the end of season 1, but I never saw how season 1 ended coming. No one could have told me that like everyone's a liar, which is basically like what they said at the beginning of the show, like everyone's a liar. But the way it played out, you're like, no. And at the very, very end, you realize, oh my God, no, everyone is a liar. And that's why I'm like, it's going to be some weird, shady thing where like several people killed him, or like he killed himself multiple ways, or I don't know. Because somehow they're going to trick us.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's what I'm saying. It can't be the easiest grab. It can't be Isabella, because it's too simple to point our fingers at her. So I'm just going to hold them all back right now. Like,
I know, but then I also think Megan like doing it is also super obvious. I think it being any of the two girls is the obvious move, but I don't know. I won't be mad at it. I wasn't mad at Cruel Summer. Everyone's a liar. When she's like, when you see that girl whip around and learn that she's there and she just still kept going, you're like, no. The end of Cruel Summer was great. So I feel like they're going to do it again. It can't start here. It can't start at an 11 and die, you know? Guys, it's so good. When you start watching, I was like, get ready for the roller coaster. You're like, already? I'm like, already.
And you were right.
Good. It's just so good. Any other fun theories or thoughts on episode 2? No, I'm so ready for episode 3. We can't watch ahead because I don't want to accidentally spoil things. So we will be watching it with you all. Please comment. We are doing this because we love to discuss it with you. I'm going to throw this also up on our podcast. If you don't have time to listen to YouTube, head over to Smells Like Teen Angst Podcast on all your streaming platforms, and this will be there as well. But yeah, until next week for Cruel Summer episode 3, we'll see y'all later. Like, comment, subscribe.
Bye.